Hey everybody, it's day 17 of my 20-pound weight loss project. It looks like I'm looking at my calendar where I started at 170 and now we are at 161.6. Every time my body gets around 160, it just furiously fights to get back up. So I think this is a good time to review some ideas for how to break a stall or a plateau. We'll go upstairs and do that. All right, let's talk about reaching a plateau or a stall. I've been messing around with this 10 pounds all month. I think that one of the easiest things that you can do is get back to basics and go back to what was working initially when things were going well. So the only way you're going to know that is if you keep track somehow. Maybe you're going to use an app, or maybe you're just going to use a calendar from the dollar store. Maybe have an elaborate journal. I don't know. I like to keep it as simple as possible. So I did start putting my weight in on the fasting app here, and also did some notes in there, and you can do measurements in here as well. It's nice to go back and look at the data, because if you don't have good data, you don't know what you did that worked. And I've developed on my paper calendar, I write down my weight every day on my paper calendar. I've gotten away from putting it on my app, so maybe that's something I need to do again too. Take a picture of my weight, put it in my app, and put it on my calendar. Because the app calculates my BMI, which is what I need to do for that work goal that I have. But on my calendar, I've developed a little method with some initials to help me know what I ate during the day. Like 1F is one feed, and then I'll put K for keto behind that. So if I write 1FK, that means I did one refeed that day, one feed, the F, and then the K for the keto. You could do, figure out your own system, do whatever you want, but just some way that you can know. If I put a 0F, I knew that I fasted all day that day. So if I go back to June when I was doing really well, I can see exactly what method I used, if I ate keto, if I didn't eat keto, if I had a full cheat day. I can see all of that, and I can see my progress. Now, granted, those results aren't going to compare. The first 20 pounds aren't going to compare with this last 10 pounds that I need to get off, or more. But the end of this project will be about 10 more pounds. So just getting back to basics. Go back, figure out what works. That means you got to keep good data. Remember, take some measurements and take some pictures. You won't regret it. It seems kind of weird to start with, but you'll be glad you did after that. So the next thing is don't eat too much protein. And don't eat too much fat. I'm going to lump those two together. So everybody thinks that you can just eat all the protein that you want. Well, I suppose to me that depends on your demands. I am very sedentary. I have to sit very still, focused in at my job all day at the computer. So I don't have a lot of energy expenditure. I probably have like the metabolism comparable to a house mouse or something. Just I burn very, very little calories in my day-to-day. And even when I go to the gym, I'm probably barely getting, what a normal person should be doing just for breathing and living, because my job is so sedentary. So, and now I am on restrictions, so I cannot do anything but light walking. So I can't go to any of the classes that I like or anything until like the middle of February. So that means that tiny bit of energy expenditure that I did have is not going to be there for a couple more months. So I really got to ratchet this down if I want some success, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recheck myself here. Let's see what, I kind of stopped measuring and stopped counting things. I ate a lot of that elk and deer jerky that we made this year, and maybe that's just too much protein, too much fat. There's not much fat in the jerky. Of course, it's lean, but the cheese, and I like to snack on pepperonis. I know it's terrible, and bacons. But so I haven't measured what my typical cheese snack would be. So usually I do something like this. A few slices of Tillamook. And so the label says that these are 1 ounce is a serving. It has 10 grams of fat, and it has 1 carbohydrate for 1 ounce and 7 grams of protein. So let's just see, you know, I keep thinking this is not a big deal, but honestly I haven't checked for quite a while. So let's see what we got. See if this is about 1 ounce. I mean, I'm not saying count all of your macros, but I am saying, you know, if you've got to ratchet something down, you're going to have to know something about your macros. So, all right, here we go. That's 1.3 ounces of cheese. So if I take 1 slice away, that comes out to 0.9. So 2 very, very, very thin slices of this is 1 ounce. So that gives me, like I said, that gives me 10 grams of fat, 1 carbohydrate, and 7 grams of protein. Now, it's not a big deal in and of itself, but maybe if I'm stalled, maybe these little snacks are something that I'm going to have to consider cutting out. So I can't do the macros on the elk jerky because I don't know exactly how much each piece weighed before I dried it and all of the marinade ingredients. I do like to snack on a pepperoni now and again with that cheese. That's my favorite go-to snack. So I'll take a, you know, I won't even count them. I'll just like grab some and think, oh, this is okay. So let's see. This would be my normal. It ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pieces. So let's see what the label says. 0 carbs, 7 proteins, and 13 fats. So if I did the cheese and the pepperoni, what would we have? We'd have 14 grams of protein, and we would have, oh wait, sorry, this is 15 slices of pepperoni that I could have. So that's probably not a good thing that I know that, because now I'll get more. This is about half of the serving recommended on the package, which is what I typically will eat for a snack, which I shouldn't be snacking anyway. So that's another thing, you know, on your calendar, maybe you want to, instead of keeping track of how many times you ate, maybe you want to keep track of your eating window. And, you know, maybe you want to do 16-8 on your calendar. That means that day you fasted 16 hours and your eating window was open for 8 hours. Maybe you're going to write 23-1. You had 1 meal a day and your eating window was really tight at 1 meal a day. And that's another thing that I need to focus back in on, is keeping my eating time very small, very strict. But so this typical snack would cost me 10 grams of fat for the cheese, about 7 grams of fat for this half serving, 7 protein, and about 4 protein here. So I mean, all in all, doesn't seem like a lot, but if I'm adding that to my regular food, all of those fat grams are fat grams that I'm taking in that I'm not burning from my body fat. And we all know we want our fat to be coming off of our body, not off of our plate or our cup. So I'm still in ketosis. I've checked and I'm still in full ketosis, but you can be in ketosis and be eating all of your fat and not taking care of any of the fat on your body. So, you know, do I want to burn this or do I want to burn this? It's just something I'm going to have to get my mind around and get busy. So those are my 2 tips for the day, is keep good data, because without that you don't know how to go back and do what works, and maybe just do a quick check on some of your macros. Don't eat too much protein, don't eat too much fat. The protein can spike your insulin in excess, and the fat you want to be burning off of your body, not off your plate. So the rest of this week, I'm gonna focus on going back to my basics, doing what worked, and not eating, cutting out those snacks. I can't eat those snacks if I want this last bit of weight to move. And the other thing that I remembered that I did from looking at my journal was I was taking my snake shots faithfully, and I've kind of slacked off on that. So I'm gonna get in my snake shots and cut out my snacks, and we'll see what kind of progress that gets me.